Okay, so what happens is that with this, that was really all about the volume control, you see. So there's that kind of thing, 0 10, you see. So that's what happens. There's a few others, of course. You can have a triple P, which is very, very soft, okay? And then you could have SFZ, which is the biggest one. Schwarzando, may the Schwarz be with you. And that means with force, okay? That's what that is. You can also have MF, but that's a whole other subject for another day because I want to keep this PG. So what goes on is working around the drums, not only with dynamics, but actually, you know, like... with continuity as well. Molar technique, Billy Gladstone technique, or Gladstone technique as I say, finger control. But now I'm going to show you how to put this around the drums a little bit. When you have accents, and then you want to put those accents around the drums and on the things. I'll go to sticks here for a sec. What happens is you're going to see people like, you know, Buddy Rich and things like that, and they might be putting in all this sort of stuff. Now, how do you get around? There's a thing called a pivot point, okay? Now, what happens is if you're going to play, I'll go back to mallets now, I just wanted to do that very quick. But I'll put them over here. There we go. Now, what happens is that when you're actually doing stuff like this, when you're actually playing between tom-toms, what's going on is, you know, you have that sort of... So, Hail Caesar! Mel Brooks. It's good to be the king. I love that film. What's that? History of the World Part 1. Okay. It's Crawling with Romans. I'm sorry about that. Boom tish. Anyway, jokes are still the same. They're guaranteed. So what happens when you're going around? You do not need to go like that. What you can have, I've put myself off a little bit there. You've got that big movement, but what you do is a pivot point. You see? You get that pivot point going, so. You see? Now, the reason for me doing a little bit of the Buddy Rich before is that you actually see him doing pivot points in spades. I've grabbed the wrong stick, but that's all right, I don't mind. Paradiddle diddle is right, left, left, left. There it is there. Now, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left. Okay? Secret weapon. Okay? Can you see the vip? Okay, there you go. Back to the vipping post. So what goes on with that is there's a pivot point there. Now, once you've got the pivot point going, once you've got the pivot going, all that stuff, you now have things like lead hands and changing lead hands. If you're going down the drums, lead with your right hand. Okay? If you're coming up the drums, left. See, swap the toms, just experiment, that's all fine. And you'll get different kinds of little tones. A lot of drummers do it. All that. I always remember Billy Cobham back in 1990, and he was playing a drum kit that sounded beautiful, but the company didn't last that long. I think it was called Tempest drums. And he had his big 2 bass drums and all that, and he had the typical, you know, 2 tom-toms on each bass drum. So it's huge, okay? But what he did, it was fairly simple. What he actually did was he took tom number 1, rack tom number 1, and just swapped it with rack tom number 4, and went like that. And I had the honor to actually get to know him a little bit. And he actually, dare I say it, really liked the books that I wrote. So there's a bit of an accreditation there with Mr. Cobham. He's a gent. Oh, he's one of my favourite drummers. Mahavishnu Orchestra and all that stuff back in the day. And on Miles, I mentioned Miles Davis before, he's on the Jack Johnson album. What a shuffle groove that was. Oof. Cool, blimey. Anyway, so what goes on is you swap them. And he had all these different things happening. And what he did was that. Like I was behind there with an old Panasonic MS1. Oh, man, on my shoulder, doing it for the show. And I got it. That's what he's doing. I got it now. So what goes on is that when you're going down the drums, lead with the right hand. When you're coming up the drums, lead with the left. When you want to swap, when you want to change lead hands, you've got two ways to go. This is where paradiddle is king. You could actually do a double tap on the bottom drum. So you could go paradiddle, paradiddle, do you see? And the double tap will change the lead hand. But what you can also do is just use an odd number of strokes, okay? Now, this is where we start to get things like right, left, right, left, right. There's a 5. Then you can have left, right, left, right, left. There's another 5. So you get... There you go, you see, you get that kind of... And you sort of, you know, work the love handles there, you know, that kind of thing there. I'm going a bit blue here, Tim. I don't know what's going on. And then what happens here is that you can actually do the Gina Lola Brigida. Gina Lola Brigida, Gina Lola Brigida, you see. So what happens, you know that I'm going to say your name. That kind of thing. Gina. So what goes on here... And that's 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But what happens is when you're starting to do these exercises, you might do a 5, you might do a 7 and all that. But then some of you might be thinking, well, come on, how do you do that in a rock beat? Well, what you do is you edit. You just chop it around. So if I'm going to just play a straight rock beat for a bit. See what I did there? Right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. There it is there, you see. So what I'm doing is really just the standard fill-ins, really. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. But what I'm doing is I'm subdividing the bar. So you've got 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. And then you just adjust the exercises to suit. You don't have to overthink it. You don't want any kind of analysis paralysis or anything like that. What you actually want to try and get going is just a smooth flow so that when you're playing around, what can happen here, you now have a combination of pivots and then lead hands, right? Get it? Got it? Good. Take care. My name's Chris Quinlan, MelbourneMusos, Susie Cupidol, Tim Barnett, Simon Barnett, Alan Randall, everybody at Alex Theatre. I love you all. Here we go. Take care. Eh? Oh! Hey! Rage! Rage against the dying of the light. Did we win?